Today we are diving into a really powerful text called Days of War, Nights of Love. It's presented as a kind of manifesto for feeling alive.
So in this explainer, we're going to journey through the core ideas of this pretty remarkable text. We'll kick things off by exploring what it calls the war within us, and then we'll discover the sacred and the unscripted. After that, we'll dig into how culture is a spell that we can actually rewrite and how slowness as a rebellion can be a really powerful act. Then we'll look at how everyday revolutions begin. And to wrap it all up, we'll think about some letters to your future self, a message to the person you are becoming.
You know, there's something genuinely strange about reading a book that feels like it's reading you.
And Days of War, Nights of Love is absolutely one of those books. It's a manifesto cleverly disguised as poetry, really an act of protest that's been inked right onto the paper.
Here's the thing about it. It doesn't ask you to agree. It dares you to feel. It actually courts contradiction because, well, that's what being fully alive really demands, isn't it?
So for those of us who kind of move between idealism and burnout, between purpose and just performance, this book doesn't offer any easy resolution or comfort. Instead, it offers something much rarer: permission. Permission to question absolutely everything, even the act of reading it. So let's just linger in its provocations for a bit and see what we might recover, or maybe rekindle between the lines.
So where does this war actually take place? Well, Section 1, The War Within, argues that the real battle isn't out there somewhere, but right in here. The book's first real blow is to the whole illusion of normalcy. You see, the war they're talking about isn't just in the boardroom or the ballot box or some battlefield. No, it's in the stories we're told about what it means to be a good adult. It's in that gentle erosion of our dreams, traded so quietly for responsibility. It's baked into the idea that freedom is something you earn only after decades of compliance.
What makes this way of framing it so powerful isn't just its cynicism, but its intimacy. I mean, it's easy to rail against capitalism in theory. What's way harder, and honestly braver, is admitting that we all play the game, often while forgetting why we're even playing. That our sense of security sometimes costs us our soul. This is a war waged not with rage, but with forgetfulness.
But the book doesn't shame us. It just says, simply, you're not crazy for feeling restless. That ache you might be carrying, it isn't yours alone. And just recognizing that, well, that's the first crack in the wall.
Okay, so after acknowledging this internal war, the book offers a really powerful antidote. And this brings us right to Section 2, Sacred in the Unscripted, Rediscovering Meaning.
So if the war is systemic, the Nights of Love feel almost mythic. These are the unsellable moments, the ones that algorithms can't possibly optimize. They might not last long, but they're just enough to remind you life isn't meant to be manageable, it's meant to be meaningful. Here, love is all about communion, but not in some sanitized Valentine's Day kind of way. It's about fully showing up for a friend, a stranger, a sunset, or an idea. It's about risking awkwardness for truth, stillness for movement, and perfection for real connection. The book dares us to reclaim our nights, to turn them into sacred hours where we're not optimizing, but opening.
And this act of opening up leads us to a really fascinating idea in Section 3. Culture is a spell, and we can unwrite it.
One of the most transformative chapters explores this idea that culture isn't just a reflection of reality. It's a framework that actually creates it. So when we passively accept the norms of hustle culture or scarcity or curated perfection, we're reinforcing the very world that exhausts us. By naming this, the book gives us this strange kind of magic, the ability to speak differently, act differently, and dream differently.
Language here isn't just for description. It's like an incantation. Take the word quitting, for example. It can mean weakness or it can mean courage, all depending on the story we tell around it. Anarchy can mean chaos, or it can mean creativity that's beyond control. So it makes you wonder, what stories about success or adulthood or love have we accepted without even giving our consent? And what happens when we start to rewrite them?
Once we start questioning the stories we've just been told, we can begin to change our actions. And that brings us to Section 4, Slowness as a Rebellion, Against the Efficiency of Emptiness.
In a world that is just running at breakneck speed, slowing down becomes a radical act. Days of War suggests that simplicity, presence, and refusal, these aren't just aesthetic trends, they're acts of resistance. Just imagine doing something slowly, not for polish, but for pure pleasure. Eating with attention, walking with no destination in mind, talking to someone without constantly looking at a clock. These aren't indulgences, they're retrievals of the soul. This insight really matters because it reframes joy as being productive, not in a capitalist sense, of course, but in the deeper sense of regenerating what capitalism erodes, our sense of wonder, our capacity to truly listen, our patience with mystery.
So when we reclaim our time and our attention, we create the space for something new to emerge. This brings us right to Section 5. Everyday revolutions begin, starting the world again.
You know, maybe the most striking part of the book is that it isn't fixated on massive, earth-shattering revolutions. It believes in the subtle, repeated kind, the ones born in cafes, in late-night notebooks, in acts of spontaneous kindness. You start small, by questioning the rules you follow without even thinking, by opting out of expectations that cost you your aliveness, by planting community in the ruins of convenience. You begin not by attacking the world, but by coming alive inside it.
The revolution doesn't start with other people. It starts when you become illegible to the machine, when your life just no longer fits the script. And that illegibility, it becomes contagious.
So where does all this leave us? Well, Section 6 offers a final, really powerful thought: letters to your future self.
Reading Days of War, Nights of Love is like entering a dialogue with the parts of yourself that once knew how to play, how to imagine, and how to rebel without any apology.
In the end, it doesn't give you answers. It hands you flares. It reminds you that somewhere, beneath all the layers of scheduling and just surviving, a different self is still awake, still capable of beginning again. And that might be the most radical act of all. Not escaping the world, but writing yourself back into it, with tenderness, with fire, and with love.